Growing up, a lot of adults always used to tell me that I should become a lawyer. I don't specifically know the reasons as to why people would say this, and it wasn't just teachers, it would be adults that would, I guess, give themselves enough of a time to speak to me and that they cared enough to say, hey, kid, you should become this when you grow up. But, anyways, without going into a really deep diatribe, of course, I didn't become a lawyer, but this was something that was pretty prevalent to me, at least growing up from that of like the age of 12 or so up until like high school, college age almost. And um, I guess, spoiler alert, I didn't go to law school and I didn't become a lawyer. But the reason I bring all this up is because on today's edition of Sides of the Internet, I figured I test their theories or their feelings out by reacting and giving comments on one of the latest and hottest things in the reality TV show Nexus, which is also known as Court Cam, which is on A&E. And I haven't really seen much of this, but I think this is one of the things that spurred off of Live PD's cancellation. Anybody in the comments can go ahead and correct me about this, but um, I digress. Today we're going to go ahead and react to some of this court cam footage and see how it is that people handle themselves and their situations when presented in the scenario and setting of a court case, or court for lack of a better term. I've seen the show only in passing, and by passing I mean I've seen it being recommended to me because of the endless amounts of reality TV show as garbage that I watch and various news things. It tends to, and that being the algorithm, tends to think that I enjoy just any piece of content, and it's kind of right. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and react to some court cam.
We're in Harlan, Kentucky, for the sentencing hearing of 59-year-old Cletus Robbins Jr. Following a 3-day trial, Robbins was convicted on a litany of shockingly violent charges.
The defendant is guilty of 1, kidnapping and with serious physical injury; 2, robbery in the first degree; assault in the second degree; unlawful imprisonment; wanton endangerment first degree; and being a persistent felony offender first degree.
As Judge Kent Hendrickson proceeds with Robbins' laundry list of crimes, the prosecution
I didn't hear anything that has to do with
after
clothing.
Robbins repeatedly
What
turns
a lame
around
joke.
and glares at them.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth would request that the court give notice to the defendant not to communicate with the Commonwealth.
In the courtroom,
What's going
defendants
on?
are often prohibited from communicating verbally or non-verbally with anyone except their own attorney. Problem is, Robbins isn't exactly a rule follower.
Well, he's already in.
Hey, now, none of that. Hey, none of that. Now, just calm down.
He's getting all hot on the judge over here.
You take it easy.
Stand up.
Take it easy, eh?
Please. Settle down, please.
Is that the attorney?
Ass court here.
Listen, buddy, I'm too old for this.
Hey, I'm too old for this too.
You know, I'm rarely a person ever on the side of anybody that lands in court, whether it be the judge or anybody, unless you're actually the victim of a really horrendous crime that really needs to be handled with a court and a jury and a trial and everything. I'm not full anarchist or some libertarian cretin here either, but for the most part, I just don't really root for most people in these kinds of settings, because sometimes and for most situations, we've seen how most judges tend to, you know, use that word very strongly, but really enforce that for themselves morally very lightly, the word judge, and what should be applied to these kinds of things. Now, before getting all self-righteous like a Powerpuff Girl here, I don't understand for the life of me why a judge specifically, whatever, if you're at an age where you finding yourself, and not to be ageist, but specifically if you're in a setting where, again, most people would like some authority and some strength and force and such, I think most people, specifically those that would say they root for these things, would say it's time to step down, dude. It's time to step down instead of giving somebody who can be maybe somehow apprehensive or anti-authoritarian. Uh, and by authoritarian, I mean authority and authority figures, which that's pretty obvious. But today, being how these words are used and whatever, the point is that the judge is already fucking up, and this dude's obviously in a bad mood here. The defense attorney, that God bless her sweet soul, there, uh, saying geriatric in the courtroom, I would honestly defer from that opinion. I think everybody's kind of phoning it in. Depends what day and what time it is. I think everybody's just a little tired, but the judge still like is really um he's coming he's phoning it in. He's phoning it in. That's the obvious thing. But I just kind of wanted to share how I think it's such an ignorant and dumb move to make, to just kind of say to anybody, even somebody that's compliant, and it's just like, excuse me, I can't hear. I'm sorry. I'm just. Don't do that, dude. Don't do that.
With tensions later calmed, Robbins stands in silence as Judge Hendrickson hands down a heavy sentence.
He shall be confined to the state penitentiary for a maximum of 25 years. And that concludes this matter before the court. Thank you.
Sentencing may conclude things for the court, but not for Robbins. That is the sound of Cletus Robbins spitting at one of the prosecuting attorneys.
Oh, another felony.
Before he's hauled out of the courtroom, Robbins makes a final threat.
The court has that on record. We know that that was a threat, and we will be saving that record for possible criminal charges.
I mean,
No
they just
charges were
overlooked the
filed against
spit.
Robbins for his courtroom misconduct.
They let go the
His 25-year
spit.
sentence stands, and a later appeal of the
Oh
case
my God.
was denied.
They let go of the spit. They were just like 25 years.
We're headed
Honestly,
south.
he's pressing the
Way
get.
south.
See, and this is the thing too. Like, the judge and everybody up in there, like, whatever. They be messing up. That's all I've been saying.
To Wollongong, Australia, for a sentencing
Wollongong
hearing.
District Court.
Seated inside what's known as the dock is the defendant, 25-year-old Jesse Rose. The one-time aspiring rugby league player pleaded guilty to the charge of reckless wounding for an assault captured in this surveillance video. After receiving a complaint about
What's
Rose's
going on?
drunken behavior in a
He
pub,
sauced someone
he
up
and
or
his
what?
mate are asked to leave by security.
Oh, here we
But
go.
when he refuses, a second camera shows things
They show him saucing somebody up or what? People after watching my show like it's food.
turning physical, and one of the security guards ends up on the floor. Backing away from the situation, Rose then hurls his drinking glass at the downed man, striking him in the head. The guard suffered serious injuries, including a laceration and depressed skull.
If you're gonna play a tough person,
Now at sentencing,
like honestly,
Rose's attorney made a case to not send him
call
to
it throw
jail,
hands for a
claiming
reason, you know?
He's a changed man,
don't throw glass.
holding down a steady job and living on the straight and narrow. But Judge Andrew Hasler makes it clear this is no kangaroo court, stating that the assault was
No pun intended, huh? I gotta love their Harry Potter robe, and this looks like a wig, honest. Like, it looks like a wig. I get it, but it's a wig that's like put together to look like a brain, almost like, you know, like a brain wig. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I'm like tripping out on why, like, aren't they supposed to cover up to the ear? Like, I don't know. I don't. Okay, whatever.
too serious
I'm
to
tripping out on
consider
this
leniency.
wig.
And right about now, he announces Rose's sentence, 14 months in prison. But as one door closes for the defendant, he kicks another one wide open.
Okay, the puns in this. Brock Lesnar looking over here. Whoa. Cue the slow motion with the. Whoa, he almost hit that lady.
Unhappy with his sentence, Rose perhaps
That dude
channels
needs
his
to
rugby
chill,
days and
man.
boots open the divider door. It's unclear
What
he
a
says to
difference
these
between two
security
players
guards.
that honestly, one throwing
One guard
glass.
takes a step or two back.
He's okay.
After some more jawing, Rose takes things up a notch and throws not one, but 2 chairs at the guards. Those are not folding chairs Rose just tossed.
We could
Those
see
are
that.
standard office chairs weighing up to 60 pounds, or
Yeah,
27
this guy actually
kilograms in
sauced
Australia.
his officers up.
What you might have missed is this guard who sneaks around the backside of the dock and, like a boomerang, flies back into action.
Oh, you guys
First
need to stop
bobbing
throwing
and
these
weaving,
like
then
Australian
going
puns. We get it.
down
They're in
under for a
Australia.
tackle.
Oh, here we go. This is why
Behind
nobody
the other
likes these
guard,
shows. On top of
Rose
the
is
fact
pinned
that
to the
they are
floor.
exploitative.
Girlfriend can be seen in the rear of the courtroom.
Who's that? Julia Fox?
Other officers eventually enter, get Rose to his feet, and escort him out. For his courtroom tantrum, Jesse Rose was charged with property damage and assaulting a law enforcement officer. An additional 8 months was added to his original 14-month sentence.
Well,
We're in the Cuyahoga
he was
County
just trying to
Justice
make
Center,
up
where
for
a
what he thought he
sentencing
should have
hearing
done
is
out
wrapping
there, I
up.
guess. Ohio, huh? Something's gonna go down for sure.
William Terry just received an 18-month prison sentence for attempted burglary and attempted felonious assault. Present in court are the defendant's family behind him and the victim of this crime seated across the courtroom.
Dude, you guys have more breaks than my dad. Boy smells. Your scent stays with me. I'm not gonna do more free ad for you.
To prison.
It's all right. It's only 18 months.
He's speaking to his family now. And then
Hey, you the
some choice
What
words for the
the-
victim.
don't touch me like that.
This is Ohio for sure.
2 court deputies try to subdue the handcuffed defendant.
The officer's cam over here. Are they gonna tack on more like for every kick, or what are they gonna do? They're trying to pick up his pants.
Ready? Yeah. We gonna be calm now? Yeah. All right.
The defendant's removed from the courtroom without further incident. No additional time is added to his sentence.
Oh, come on. Not that I want additional time, but like, you know, I know it's just dead silence, but this is just really to just think if whether or not I should get into trying to just at this point, when you really think about it and you really look at a lot of court and things that have gone down since like late 2019 up until like recent like 2022, the way I see the court system of this country for the most part is just for any of you that are gamers, think of the continuous retconning and continuous like double speak or talk of like something like the Kingdom Hearts series. Now, I'm not really much of a gamer, and I'm using something like this lightly because of the fact that I don't know much about this, but the fact that there's so much like contradictions and rewriting and people say they don't get it right. But even looking at one particular state and one particular state only, you know, for as an example, Wisconsin, all you can do is just look at cases involving people under the age of 18 and look at the matter into situation, and you really start to draw your own conclusions as to how disproportionately off balance most things are, and that sometimes you don't even really have to consider certain factors that would make most things obvious as to why certain things like a law system of a country would be so disproportionately off of like rails like this country's tends to be. But I digress. Let's go ahead and check out how many more other people get away with their tantrums.
Now we head to a sentencing hearing at the Lincoln County Courthouse in Newport, Oregon. Scott Patrick Lemon, seen here wearing a blue shirt, is awaiting sentencing for charges of robbery, burglary, theft, 2 counts of menacing, and 4 counts of coercion, all stemming from a home invasion. In the
That
courtroom
sounds like
is
an
a
Oregon
deputy,
crime.
Lemon's lawyer, a police officer, and another attorney.
Let's see how this dude's
Deputies
gonna ball out
requested
right
an
here.
electronic restraint for Lemon during the proceedings so that he could be immediately restrained in case he acted out.
No way.
The judge denied that request.
Yeah. I mean, you have to take the
Lemon
risk, but you have to
lunges
be
for the
ready. That's
officer.
no. Ah, come on, dude. This is why they have accidents up in that place all the time.
If we take a closer look, it appears that Lemon attempts to grab the officer's weapon. Fortunately for everyone, he's quickly taken down.
Dude, if you couldn't take a hold of your gun or be careful with it, why are you the first one trying to take it out in fear, trying to put down like some gauntlet over here, like you're fucking Thor or something, my dude? Like you need to like get a hold of yourself, keep your, cause you're the first one that's gonna hurt somebody. You know he picked you out like this because he knew that you're gonna be the first fool to want to either let go your gun or whip it out. Like Jesus.
Lemon has attempted escape added to his list of charges. He's currently serving a minimum of 7 years in prison.
I mean,
We head now to a sentencing hearing in Ocala, Florida. A jury has found
Marion
Travis
County.
Davis, Brandon Banks, Kelvin Grimmage, and Keela Richardson guilty of killing Courtney London during a robbery home invasion 2 years earlier.
poor dude.
As an added precaution today, extra officers are on hand for the sentencing.
I mean, they're a little more farther than comfort to really, I don't
As the
know.
men wait to learn their fate,
I'm not an officer of the law, or I don't claim to know more than an officer tends to know. And, you know, that's beyond the point. I'm guessing a lot of these people around here are all their lawyers, so I'm guessing it becomes a bit of a messy situation, but I don't know. Everybody's playing with fire because if they cornered them in here for a reason, and mind you, again, this is Jim Can't Swim for the Morons, as I claim to feel. But yeah, I see the reasoning and everything, but it's pretty risky. Like, what do you do in a situation? Like, you know, some would say that maybe a reasonable thing would maybe to have the courts on separate times or something. I don't know. Is this... again, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. Could have, though.
I've indicated that I would like to do is to have the gentleman hang on, Mr. Davis.
suddenly fists are flying.
Whoa. Dang, they're really saucing those guys
It
up.
appears a court officer attempts to handcuff Travis Davis, but Davis refuses to cooperate. Another court officer quickly jumps in to assist.
Hang on, Mr. Davis.
Meanwhile, a third
Was
court
that really a
officer
proper way to
attempts
for her, like, to
handcuff
hug
Grimmage,
him like that?
but that doesn't go any better, and total chaos ensues. Richardson's already been cuffed and is ushered away from the melee.
Okay.
Davis's lawyer,
Got
Daniel
another
Hernandez, isn't so lucky. With the situation seemingly out of control, another
Did
court
they knock
officer
him out?
steps in with a taser.
Is that dude knocked out?
Reportedly, all 3 men were tased, including Brandon Banks, who doesn't appear to join the free-for-all.
Yeah, I mean, one of them's got to play it
One
smart.
of the court officers appears to instruct everyone to clear the courtroom.
So it wasn't. That was a pretty big risk to be doing that. Honestly, I get.
After the court officers regain control, Davis and Grimmage share some sentimental parting words.
In the end of the day, it's like the old saying goes: at the
All
end,
4
you
defendants
have
were
his
convicted
love.
of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole.
I mean, they murdered somebody. You know, they didn't give him any more time either. Some people.
We go to the Berea Municipal
And this is
Court
where I
in
go back, and not that I think they should have. Well, they should have given them. They're already doing life in prison for murder, and I mean, that was kind of a chain reaction of one of them acting up. I think out of the 4, I think only 2 of them really kind of got out of hand because the other got out. Whatever. Anyways, the main point being is there could have been a way for the courts to have handled that in a way where they don't have to risk everybody else that maybe, there, and they don't have to also risk the chance of them possibly having ideas or the comfort level of potential. Because, I think one of these things that makes it to where, like, again, 2 out of the 4 ended up kind of acting up and doing this in rebellion, and it wasn't really rebellion in the sense of, like, it was more of, like, defense. They saw, hey, this guy's down, I gotta help him. The other guy tried to, but they took him, and the other dude just stepped by and said, well, I don't, whatever. What did you think was going to happen to us? But, the main point being here is that I really do think that the courts, if we go back here a little bit, let's go back. They could have had another desk here or something else, just to kind of have 1, 2, and it would have made it again to where there could be a lot more of a focus, this kind of thing. I mean, there's a reason I think I read somewhere a while back ago about why the designs of classrooms used to work the way they used to a degree, but again, that's beyond the point. I really think they mishandled the way that they went about basically trying to maintain people's safety here.
Without parole.
Here. And I don't know how far off I went.
We go to the Berea Municipal Court in Berea, Ohio. The sentencing hearing of 42-year-old Stephanie Rybkowski.
Mr. Rybkowski, am I saying that correctly? Yes, you are.
Rybkowski was caught stealing from a local Walmart, which resulted in a theft conviction.
All right, nothing wrong there.
Today, she and her attorney are hoping Judge Mark Comstock doesn't issue any jail time.
First of all, $150 fine plus cost of that suspended. And then 180 days in jail. I'll credit 1 day served. However, I will start that today.
6 months in jail starting today is not the outcome Rybkowski was looking for.
Honestly, the judge be tripping. 6 months. 6 months for theft. This is what I'm saying. This is the disproportionate amount of some other people in there basically like spit bodily fluids on it. People, they don't give them extra time. Well, they're already doing. Still, there has to be some form of like, yo, that's gross what you just did. This person just stole. You're gonna like now take up 6 months of taxpayer money to keep a person fed and housed and everything because $150 fine that could just be paid. Like, really? Really, Judge?
So she quickly appeals to the judge.
So disproportionately off balance.
Is there a way that I can
Now,
not start jail today. I mean, because I've got.
Always trying to inconvenience people. This is how I feel watching this video on the inside.
Going on. Oh,
I understand that. I understand that. And we're going to stick with the recommendation at this point. So,
Whose recommendation? Kim Jong-un?
Absolutely, you'll be able to use your phone.
Disappointed, Ripkowski goes to take her seat. Until she changes her mind and heads for the door. Bailiff Matthew Bedford takes notice.
Why did
and
she do
immediately
that?
tails him. He catches up to her in the hallway, where they have a discussion. Ripkowski bides her time by taking a seat. She then checks her phone while the bailiff waits her out and stands guard at the staircase.
This dude.
Acting casual, she wanders over to the bailiff while on the phone.
She's gonna try
And
running.
slips behind him.
What does he do? What, you followed her to keep an eye on her, and then you lose track of her. See what I'm saying?
Until
Even their logic is like
makes a
so out of
breakthrough.
whack.
She quickly makes her way down 2 flights of stairs and out the front doors, with the bailiff right behind her.
Unless she's Quicksilver, I don't know why they always try running like this out of this place, man.
Eventually, she gets to her car and knocks the bailiff over with the vehicle before speeding away.
Whoa!
Luckily, he suffers only minor injuries.
Oh my God!
Finding her wasn't easy. It would take 11 days before she was finally caught and arrested.
She
And
booked
this time,
it.
she's hit with additional charges of escape, assault, and resisting arrest.
Dang. There was a this is one of those things where you're like, sometimes people could make an argument, well, see, this is why they wouldn't want to give her like just a fine, because she could have been a danger out there. But it's like, could anybody really, like, think of yourself in a situation like this? And I'm not gonna, again, let my heartstrings bleed a little too much here, but I will say that if you're really gonna look at this realistically, if you yourself, or in a time of desperation for whatever reason, you yourself may face the most realistic outcome that may have you like wanting to steal something from a store, a billion-dollar actual corporation to be exact, and getting possibly charged with a $150 fine. If you really think about it, getting put in jail for about 6 months against paying $150 is something that I feel, again, under whatever circumstance anybody's at, I think anybody would pull a Kanye up in here and pull a tantrum where you're just making the situation worse for yourself, and whatever one can say to excuse, and you're kind of making it hard for anybody to defend you. Why did you have to do it? Why did you have to not just run? Why did you have to go and run over the bailiff, which was foolish of them to also do? If they're like, is that really entirely the bailiff's kind of deal? I that's something I'm not too precisely aware, but where was the other security or guard? I don't know how all of this mess, and this goes to, again, build a lot of weight against my argument with these people of the law here. You know what I mean? Not just cops. I mean the whole court, the judges, the district. It's all pretty off whack. If you really want to think about this, how can we even start talking and criticizing the so-called, when you really think they don't even know how to run most of these places? Yeah, they're corrupt only to a certain point, and that corruption really ends when you start seeing how a lot of these people are basically running on sim mode. It's kind of weird, and to expect them to deduce enough things and being like, well, people are gonna snap like this. And before that too, if you don't learn to build a proper form of rapport or something with the community, or even understanding, you're going to have, despite the fact that there is criminals who are just going to act like how people could say criminals stereotypically act under some form of duress when it comes under the light of the court and and justice, if you want to call it that. But the bigger point is most citizens that also go to court, and I've seen other videos that we'll react to of this show where some of them just really straight out inconvenience some people where you're like, they obviously messed up. So what is your point of trying to send some people away for extraneous amounts of time besides you were just in a bad mood or whatever was your deal? And now not only are you inconveniencing this person, but you're inconveniencing the taxpayers of that community in that county when you could have just maybe charged this person. They could have just learned a lesson. Like in reality, if you think about it, most average people that aren't against some hardened underground criminal syndicate adjacent person, most people when they get charged, they rather get charged with like a ticket and be at least bothered with that and have to pay it than again really being inconvenienced in the way of putting them in jail. Like beyond the fact that again you're gonna cost other people money that really shouldn't be going to keeping somebody who was just should have just paid $150. But you, Stephanie, running moves like Gronkowski over here, like a philosopher of the 21st century says, congratulations, you played yourself. And like her, you guys all played yourself by watching another edition of Sites of the Internet, and I was Codex. Thank you.